Hey everyone, Brody here with our new channel, Let's Table It, where we get games to the table. I have a new copy of Age of Wonders, Planetfall. It's a science fiction card drafting set collection game based on the video game of the same name. Now, I haven't played the video game, but let me show you some of the things about this game to let you know if it might be one worth getting to the table for yourself. Here is the game set up. The game is played over 7 rounds where a new planet is explored in each round. Each player will conduct 2 explorations on every planet where you will gain empire points by defeating enemies, studying technology, claiming landmarks, and running different types of operations on these different planets. Players will score empire points at the end of the game depending on the goals for that game, and whoever has the most points will win the game. So you will want to focus on the goals for the game to guide you with your choices throughout the game. This card will list the 3 different goals. There are 8 different cards, so potentially different strategies will need to be adopted depending on these goals that are out. Each player will have a player board that represents their commander. Players can start with different stats, including different experience levels, which helps players during battles with neutral units. Strength, which is used while battling as well, but unlike the experience, the strength points can be spent. Energy allows studying technologies and claiming landmarks. These points are also spent as well. And lastly, players mark their points on the edge of their player boards. Each round follows 5 phases. The first is the discovery phase, where a number of cards are placed out depending on the number of players in the game. This chart here shows how many cards are placed out in each row, depending if you're playing a 2 to 3 player game or a 4 to 6 player game. Now, the level or the row that the card is on will impact its cost and reward you with things depending on its type. The top left of the card will show a symbol, and in each planet there are 4 unit cards, 3 technology cards, 3 landmark cards, and 4 pickup cards. Next, the income phase, where players gain income for every annex sector, if there are any. You will then resolve all technology cards with effects that have resolved during the income phase, and then resolve any ability of your commanders if there's something to resolve during the income phase. Next, the main part of the game, the exploration phase. In part 1, starting with the ship on the 1 slot on the turn order track and going down, players will take turns choosing a card and placing their ship on top of it. You'll want to choose a card for their abilities, considering their costs as well of where they are located, and depending on what card you place your ship on, it will also determine your turn order for the next time. So it's a known thing that the cards in the 3rd row are better, so those players that get those will go later in turn order next time. Players will take turns placing their ship, and then starting with the top row and going from left to right, players will remove their ship from their chosen card and perform the action on the card. After performing the action, you will remove your ship and place it on the topmost unoccupied slot of the turn order track. Again, players who take level 1 cards will take their turn before those who occupied level 2 or 3 cards in the next phase. Your chosen card is then placed in front of you, face up, and any effects from already claimed cards and possible actions from commander abilities are then performed. If you choose an operation slot instead of a card, then you won't get a card for that turn. It's recommended to group your cards by types and overlap them one behind the other so that you can save space and see the most important information on each of those cards. For the exploration phase part 2, players will then choose a second card, but in the new turn order. Remember to always reference the level that the card is in, which row it is when claiming it. Cards that require a cost are the unit, the landmark, and the technology cards. The other cards will give a reward. This includes the pickup cards and the operation slots. So again, you are fighting a unit, claiming a landmark, studying a technology, searching for a pickup, or running operations. The last phase is the migration phase, where all unclaimed cards are removed. All operation slots stay out there until the game is ending. They are connected to this cardboard outline here, so they'll just be left out on the table. So really, the cards is where this game is at, where the gold in the game is at. So let me go over how all of these cards work. When fighting a unit, you can defeat them by defeating them for recruiting them or by your diplomacy effect. The cost is shown with the resources needed to be used to perform the action. You'll spend the strength moving your marker down and then compare experience. And if your experience is lower than its, then you will need to spend one more strength for each experience that you're short by. Remember, experience will never be spent. You will then gain the listed points, energy, and possible experience listed on that card. If you use the diplomacy option, your experience cannot be lower than the required unit's experience for them. And you will spend the listed number of energy instead of the listed number of strength. And once the unit is recruited, you gain any listed points, strength, and experience if listed on that card. When claiming a landmark, you can conquer it peacefully or forcibly if there is an aggression effect present on it. You will pay the listed energy, or if by aggression, you will pay strength instead. Once you claim a landmark, you will gain the listed points and experience listed on that card. All landmarks of the same name are marked with the same icon and might appear on several planets. The potential planets with the landmark is listed on the right side of the card to help you with your planning. Once you gain a pair, you immediately gain the listed points on the bottom right of both of those cards. When studying a technology, you will spend the shown amount of energy, you will gain the points, the strength, and experience if listed on that card, and there is a special technology effect there as well. Tech from planets 1 through 4 provide permanent effects that change rules for the owner that starts the next round, while tech from planets 5 through 7 provide a condition to score in-game points. When searching for a pickup, you can do one of two things. You can gain as many energy points as listed on the left part of the card and experience if it's listed, or you can annex a sector if there is that annex symbol at the bottom of the card. And when annexing, you will flip the card over, and during each income phase, every annex sector brings you the number of energy listed. Annexing will give you a way to gain steady income instead of a big chunk of energy all at once. Lastly, when running operations, you place your ship on one of the operation slots instead of a card. Each slot can only have one ship on it at a time, and you will gain the number of operation points listed in that slot, and you will be able to trade those points to gain points, strength, or experience in any of those combinations. When gaining points, it's a 1-to-1 ratio, but you are limited to doing this only the number of times as planet number that you're on. For strength, it's a 1-to-1 ratio, and experience costs 2 operation points to gain 1 experience. The game continues until after the 4th phase of the 7th round, and players will gain points for end-of-game conditions from their goals and from meeting conditions on claimed tech cards from planets 5 through 7. The player within with the most points wins the game. And, well, that's Age of Wonders Planetfall, the board game. It's a nice, quick game that takes around 30 minutes to play. It's a nice card game where you're trying to use your benefits as much as possible to gain more stuff. That might be strength or energy to use later in the game, or points. Players each have different strengths and abilities, but then players can decide to play different ways. Players can try to claim pickup cards that can be placed so that they generate resources throughout the game, and they can try to gain pairs of landmarks to gain extra points in that regard. Players will be managing both energy and strength to do their actions, and increasing experience is like a permanent strength, so that is an opportunity that can really help in the long run as well. Technology gives some extra effects that can definitely be worth it. And if a player feels like no other card benefits them, they can always do an operation where they can gain resources or points where they want to set up for the next round. Now, not all cards are placed out for each planet every game, so different cards will appear. You will potentially play with a different commander each game as well. That'll change things up. And how you start with in the first planet may impact you as you continue through the game. as well as the second planet, and so on. So each card that you choose does impact you as you play through the game. There are slightly more cards needed that adds variety, but not too many cards where you are confused as there's too much stuff in the game. It's supposed to be a quicker card game that can be played pretty quick as you explore each of the 7 planets, and it does a good job doing that as you gain 2 cards for or on each planet. The player order mechanic adds in another layer by choosing a certain card over another, as you might not get the other card that you might want because you're last. Overall, I can appreciate its game being a lighter game on the resources. You have 3 tracks, but then your choices of cards is what really constitutes the complexity of the game. Again, this is Brody with Let's Table It, where we get games to the table. Please like and subscribe to our channel. We are new and working hard to bring to you videos like this one, so you know if these games are ones that you want to get to your own table.